Colonial Williamsburg is billed as the largest outdoor living museum in the U.S. It's set in the 18th century when Williamsburg was the capital of Virginia. I filmed this video on the 4th of July because I thought it would be cool to visit on the 4th of July. The first event of the day was at 9:30 and it was already pretty crowded. But for good reason, because how often do you get to hear the Declaration of Independence read aloud by someone looking like this?
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. That they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. That among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
So we just got done listening to a reading of the Declaration of Independence, which was really cool. I think that was the first time that I've ever heard it be, read aloud, especially by someone in costume to a big group of people, which is, how it would have been read to the masses at that time. So it was a really interesting experience. I tried to put myself in the mindset of someone who would be hearing that for the first time. If you were really disgruntled and discontented and fed up with British rule, that would amp you up. And at the same time, if you were someone who was hoping for, peace and to maintain the status quo, that would be terrifying, because it's essentially saying, everything is going to change from this moment forward. I think a lot of times people sort of make the whole War of Independence about, people who didn't want to pay their taxes, but it's really, there were a lot of grievances. The Declaration is actually decently long, so if you haven't read it or you haven't read it in a long time, I recommend checking it out, especially if you're a U.S. citizen. You'd want to know why your country became a country in the first place. The list of reasons that they gave for declaring independence. It's always better to be knowledgeable than not. Now I got to apply some more sunscreen because it's like 90 degrees and sunny today. Williamsburg was one of the first planned cities in the country, and it became the capital of the Virginia colony in 1699. It was the center of political activity before and during the Revolution, up until 1780, when the capital was moved to Richmond, where it remains today. Just walking around Colonial Williamsburg is free, but in order to go into the buildings or attend any special events, you need an admissions ticket. We got the admissions ticket because we plan to spend the whole day here, and why not? What was that? It was the firing of a cannon. Then it was time for some music.
Here's a health to the Queen and a lasting peace, to faction an end and to health increase. Come, let's drink while we have breath, for there's no drinking after death. He that won't with us comply, sing down among the dead men, down among the dead men, down, 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 down among the dead men, let them lie.
I love hearing music from other time periods, because you can imagine what it would have been like, and those people who lived in that time would know the same song that you're listening to, so it makes it connects you, We just grabbed some snacks from the Raleigh Tavern Bakery. We got oatmeal raisin cookie that we already started eating, chocolate chip cookie, and a freshly baked ginger cake, which looks like tastes like a gingerbread cookie. It's very rich. It tastes very simple. There aren't that many ingredients in this in a good way. It tastes like something you would eat in colonial times. I love just watching the costumed interpreters just walking. So I'm just stopping and staring at everybody to try and imagine that they're really from that time. The closest thing you're gonna get to time travel, you know what I mean? So you gotta take advantage and do your best to really immerse yourself. We wandered around going into the different buildings we passed, like the Colonial Capitol building. Then it was time to check out the shops. I didn't buy anything, but someday I will own all the costumes.
We took a quick break to venture into the more modern Merchant Square area for lunch.
I recognize this from the back because I recognize the writing desk. You can actually see this writing desk at the Smithsonian Museum of American History. This still exists to this day, which is really cool. It's weird being this close to him. He feels kind of real. This whole place is so spread out. We figured we probably should have gone to the visitor center first before, walking around without even a map. We've been trying to look at an online map on our phones. Now we're walking to the visitor center, which is a lot farther away than anticipated. I don't even know what'll be there apart from air conditioning, which will make this all worth it. Oh, a windmill.
At the visitor center, we learned more about the layout and about the complimentary buses, which we used to check out one of the museums. There was a lot to see. And the AC inside was a nice bonus. After the museum, a lot of stuff was closed, so we didn't have much to do.
We wanted to eat at the King's Arms Tavern, but they were all booked up. I've called multiple times throughout the day asking if there have been cancellations. There have not been. We just sat down in some shade at this coffee shop that is closed. We walked all this way hoping to get some coffee, but the next event that we want to catch is in a few hours, so I figured I would do my outro now and then include some B-roll of those events later, which is like a multimedia presentation and fireworks, because today is the 4th of July. Overall, my final thoughts about Colonial Williamsburg. This is a really cool place to come to visit. I think that it's, one of the best ways to immerse yourself in colonial history. You have these old houses, you have people in costume, especially when there's no one else in your field of vision. You can really just imagine you're looking at someone from that time period. So it's fun to come here. I recommend maybe starting at the visitor center, figuring out where you want to go, because the lack of direction that we had today made us keep going back and forth every time we'd find a new interesting thing that we wanted to visit, which racked up the amount of time we were in the beating sun.
As we waited for the sun to set, a lot of people were already setting up for the fireworks, but we decided to get a blanket from the car, grab some bubble tea, and relax for a bit. Then it was time for the show.
Here we go.
I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, hit subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next video.